After putting considerable thought into making another run for president, I've decided it's best to give other leaders in the party the opportunity to become our next nominee.
Well, Roger's ready, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. You've heard it before if you've been watching. Mitt Romney not running for president, so he says. Doesn't think he'll change his mind. Joining us now on the Malzberg panel is Christy Setzer. She is president of New Heights Communications and, of course, the host of the syndicated radio show, The Roger Hedgecock Show. We welcome in the one and only Roger Hedgecock. And Roger, any shock or surprise by this announcement from Romney?
Not at all. I think the idea that he was going to run was never a real idea. They showed a lot of class, a lot of integrity, passing the baton, so to speak, on to a younger generation of leadership. Took a shot at Jeb Bush, who's not obviously in that younger generation of leadership, and I think it's a great development in this ongoing process towards 2016.
How do you view it from the other side of the aisle, Christy?
Well, I think that Mitt Romney is a good illustration of
Christy, how do you view it on the other side of the aisle as a Democrat?
Yeah, I think that that it's an illustration of that old saying that the desire to run for president is a disease that can only be cured by death. I think the fact that Mitt Romney really seemed to want to go for it a third time, despite having been roundly defeated twice before, and there having been no material appetite among the public for him to run a third time, was pretty much an illustration of that folly. But he seems to have come around to the view that no, the public isn't interested in seeing him make this run. And also, as Roger said, he seemed to want to stick it to Jeb Bush a little bit more than even than he wanted to be president. So that's how I see it.
Well, what are you basing on? I mean, I'm glad he's not running. But what are you basing on? There was no appetite, and the public doesn't want him. I know it's early, but early polls put him at the top of the heap on the Republican side.
Because it's all name ID, right? But I mean, but once you actually get to a place where it gets beyond that, then I think what you're going to see is, as you said, an appetite for something different. And there's just so much fodder for. I mean, frankly, as a Democrat, I'm disappointed. I would love to see him run again, just as much as I would love to see Sarah Palin run. But it's for the same reason. He wants to run for the same reason that we would love to run against him, because it's easy, because we know all of the old attacks. And that's exactly the same reason that the public doesn't actually probably want him to run.
So then I guess, Roger, everything old on Hillary Clinton is fair game too, by Christie's own set of rules.
Well, no question about it. And if, seriously, the latest tapes that have come out from the Washington Times on Benghazi, on the idea that the whole Libya war was a reaction to Rwanda and all the crazy misapprehensions about Gaddafi. All of that is going to be fair game, and Hillary Clinton is going to be running really as the oldest candidate. The Republicans are going to nominate somebody in their 40s and 50s. She's going to be in her late 60s, almost 70. This is going to be a very interesting race in 2016.
Yeah,
Christy, I noticed you chuckled. I noticed you chuckled, but there are tapes that I have that are confirmed tapes by the participants. Dennis Kucinich was on tape. Pentagon officials were on tape. They didn't trust Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State. They said she was ginning up false reasons for a war to get Libya's Gaddafi out. And so we wound up fighting alongside, again, the terrorists to oust Muammar Gaddafi.
Okay, Steve, so the reason I chuckled when you guys brought up Benghazi is because that it's sort of like, when Joe Biden talked about how Rudy Giuliani was like a noun, a verb, and 9/11. Like, that's how Republicans are against Hillary Clinton.
No. He didn't bring, Roger didn't bring up Benghazi. He brought up tapes that are now out. So again, you're laughing. So you think it's a big joke. Roger, is it going to be a big joke?
Well, no, and I think this is the very interesting thing, that Hillary Clinton is basically going to say, vote for me because I'm the first woman and I'm going to be the first woman president. And that's really going to be the only positive reason. All the negative reasons are going to come out about her term as Secretary of State. She was a disaster in Libya, in Syria, in India, in a lot of places that are going to come out. In Russia, exactly.
Yeah.
Again,
it goes on
that's
and
a
on
view
and
that's
on.
held by a small segment of the Republican Party. It's not a view that is universally shared, and I think that there is folly in thinking that you can just say Benghazi and have people think that Hillary Clinton's a terrible person. They just
He
don't.
didn't just say Benghazi. He said Libya, Benghazi, Russia, the Middle East. He said a bunch of countries. She was a disaster. And now that you have Pentagon officials on tape and Dennis Kucinich, a big Democrat, on tape saying they didn't trust what she was up to, that's not going to look too good. We're coming back with more. Don't go away.
Hearing you correctly, you're saying that the Taliban engages in, quote, tactics akin to terrorism, but you don't actually consider them a terrorist group.
They have a different classification. They have a classification that does allow us to pursue financial sanctions against them that have succeeded in limiting their capability, that have been effective. And that is different than an organization like Al-Qaeda that has a much broader global aspiration to carry out acts of violence and acts of terror against Americans and American interests.
All right. So, by the way, the three workers, contractors, Americans who were killed by a Taliban soldier just today or yesterday, that wasn't an act of terror. That was an act of an armed insurgency. This is just insane. Joining us now once again on the panel is Christy Setzer and Roger Hedgecock. Let me start with you, Roger. We had Alan West on right before you guys, and he said the question has to be asked, what side is Obama on?
Well, that's exactly right. And let me just point out that in the Obama administration, the Treasury Department keeps a list of terrorist organizations, and the Taliban is on it. The State Department keeps a list of terrorist organizations, and the Taliban is not on it. So they can have it both ways. If they're trying to punish financially the leaders of the Taliban, they can do that because they're a terrorist group. If they're trying to avoid saying, well, we're not negotiating with terrorists because they're not really terrorists, through the State Department list, this is the kind of monkey business that's become the foreign policy that's laughable.
What about it, Christy? You going to defend this too? The Taliban's not a terrorist group? Oh, Christy's not here. Okay, I would have. Too bad. I could predict what she would have said, kind of, but I won't. And Roger, it is really insane. It's dangerous, and and the foreign policy goes on and on and on. I want to jump ahead to a couple of other things, though. This is what John McCain said in response to Code Pink protesters yesterday, when they surrounded Henry Kissinger at a Senate hearing. And just said outrageous things. He's a war criminal. He needs to be arrested. And I don't agree with John McCain on everything, but I thought this was great. Let's watch.
I've been a member of this committee for many years, and I have never seen anything as disgraceful and outrageous and despicable as the last demonstration that just took place about, you're going to have to shut up or I'm going to have you arrested. If we can't get the Capitol Hill police in here immediately, get out of here, you low-life scum.
Did you see how I faded in and out of that, John McCain? He was channeling me when he said that. Roger, that was great. That's what they deserved.
Well, indeed. And look at Code Pink. I mean, these cowards, not only are they attacking, George Shultz is, 94, Kissinger's 91, even Madeleine Albright was sitting there. She's 77. And they're still dredging up the Vietnam War. Where were they during the Afghan war under Barack Obama's watch when 2/3 or more of the casualties occurred? Not under Bush's watch, under Obama's watch. Not a single Code Pink objection to the Barack Obama wars that have gone on unceasingly since he was elected in January, since he came into office in January of 2009. So here's my thing about Code Pink. Republican wars are repugnant, but Democrat wars, not so much.
Well, Cindy Sheehan basically told us that when we had her on several months ago, that the anti-war movement went away with the Democrats coming into power. What about it, Chrissy? What did you think of John McCain yesterday?
Well, I think that sometimes John McCain acts like an angry old man and somebody who's
An
probably
angry
a
and
little bit
what was
passive.
Code Pink acting like, Christy?
Yeah, you know what? Like, it's not that I have. It's not that they're an extremely influential group within the Democratic Party.
Well, you're not calling them a name. You're not calling them a name. Isn't that interesting? John McCain's an angry old man for protecting a 90-year-old man and a 94-year-old man. But you have nothing bad to say about the as he put it, the scum that did it. That's interesting, but it's very telling. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Watch the Super Bowl. Give Me 5 is next.